All right. I think we're on.
We are. I was going to talk, and you started talking.
Okay, go ahead.
But I'm supposed to do the intro. Right. So welcome to HNB Conversations with Cosmo and Rivka.
Hey, that was good, man.
I know. That's what I was going to do, and then you're like, all right.
And, of course, this is Sunday.
Yes.
So you know what today is?
Sunday.
Yes.
Yes.
But you know what else it is?
What? Oh, it's Happy Father's Day. That's
you
right.
remembered.
I did. No, we celebrated our Father's Day yesterday. So
Right. Because the
kids will be at camp, so we did a whole family day
then,
yesterday. So that's why I forgot.
And Antonio and Emma will be spending Father's Day with Emma's dad.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah. But for all of you other dads out there,
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. Can you say that in a different language?
Happy Father's Day?
Yeah.
Can you?
No.
Okay, why are you asking
Because you're
me?
the one that does the different languages.
I do hello.
Yeah, well.
I do hello. I didn't say I speak
I just wanted
all these
to
other
be
languages.
impressed. I wanted you
happy, let's see, chara. Chara is happy in Greek. So chara patera hayom, that's Greek and Hebrew.
You just kind of.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you would say you would say Yom Ha'av Sameach.
Well, I'm sure that everybody who only speaks Hebrew that listens to the podcast really appreciates that.
Day of the Father. Rejoice.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So, welcome everybody. Happy Father's Day. And Antonio, do you have a question for us?
Wait.
What? Oh.
I have to do the hello. What? So you wanted me to say Happy Father's Day in another language, but you don't remember that I need to say hello?
I forgot.
Okay. So the word today is in Aramaic, and it's very close to Hebrew, but it's not Hebrew, it's Aramaic, and it's the meaning of peace. So Aramaic for hello, they say shlama. So like in Hebrew, you would say shalom, but in Aramaic, you say shlama. Shlama. Now, Aramaic is a member of the Semitic branch of the Afro-Asiatic language family that originated among the Arameans, not the Arameans, not the Armenians, the Arameans in the ancient region of Syria. It has a 3,000-year-old history and is still spoken by small groups of people in different parts of the Middle East.
That's correct. And do you actually know that that 1.5 books of the Bible are written in Aramaic? They're not in Hebrew.
Wow. Which ones?
The second half of the book of Daniel, beginning in Daniel chapter 7. Mm-hmm. So Daniel 7 through 12 is in Aramaic.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I'll tell you.
I know.
And then the other book would be the book of Esther. Right?
Okay.
Now, both of those, if you think about Daniel was in Babylon. Right. So when you're talking about, and then, of course, Esther, Hadassah, she was in Susa, so they're in exile, and so the more the language that was used there was written in Aramaic. By the time of Yeshua, Aramaic was the more commonly spoken language, even in Israel, and so there are old Aramaic versions of the Bible.
And it still doesn't explain to me why it's half in one language and half in the other.
Well, it's interesting though that if the first 6 books of Daniel are sort of the things that those are the things that you learn growing up in, all the stories. That's where you have Daniel in the lion's den, you have the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, all of that. The back end of Daniel is the stuff that people are less familiar with. Well, a lot of the kids are less familiar with for sure, but that's all the real prophetic end times stuff.
So maybe it was intentionally done to have a intentional, like, this is different, or this.
Yeah, it does seem
like artistic. Like how someone would be writing a play and artistically they'll do something specific intentionally like this and this intention to show like it's a different time. Or
it almost feels like 2 different books when you're reading it. You could do like Daniel 1 and Daniel 2, honestly, because there's such the second half, Daniel 7 through 12, is its own kind of
story.
It's a different, it's not even as much of a story. It's all of the it's this prophetic experience that Daniel has. Yes, it is a story where the angel comes to him, and he's praying and fasting, and then we find out about this the angel was delayed in coming. You have all of this experience. It's a really fascinating. I mean, it's an amazing portion of scripture. But anyway, so that's in Aramaic, and Aramaic is the letters of Aramaic are literally. I mean, they are the same letters. It looks exactly like Hebrew. So when you're looking at it, it doesn't look different. It looks exactly the same. And many of the words are indeed the same. But then you have but there are variations.
It's like when we were younger and, when I was younger and I lived in Israel and I wanted to write letters home to my friends because there was no phone calls and cell phones and internet or anything
Well, there were phone calls, but they were expensive.
Well, that's what I mean. Like my parents weren't like, sure, call your friends. But what we used to do, or even with my friends, we would write in English but use Hebrew letters. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So like I was writing English words with Hebrew letters, so whoever read it or whatever would.
It's like you're transliterating into Hebrew is what you're doing.
But I wasn't writing. I was using Hebrew letters.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's kind of like this. It's kind of like when you write Baruch and you write Baruch. You're writing a Hebrew word
in English.
In English letters.
Sure,
That's
sure.
transliteration. It's not translation. It's
I
transliteration. So you were doing the reverse of that,
right?
Where you're writing hello or whatever,
yeah,
using Hebrew letters,
right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
that was fascinating.
That was a long hello.
That's a long shlami.
Shlam.
Right? What is
Shlama?
it? Shlama.
Right? Yeah, that
Anyway,
was great,
that was
Cosmo.
That was a lengthy
hello.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Antonio, what's the question?
The question today is, or right now, is what is your worst habit and what is keeping you from dropping it?
Oh.
I feel like we answered a question like this.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
We didn't.
Okay.
I mean, I think this is a question that I have to internally deal with on a regular basis, and I just put it off.
Okay.
Because my worst habit would be, I would say, restate the question?
The question is, what is your worst habit and what is keeping you from dropping it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so my worst habit is procrastination.
Okay.
My worst habit is that I
think that's a pretty common worst habit.
Yeah.
I think that's why we don't have enough people looking at themselves and saying, I shouldn't procrastinate, because so many people procrastinate. It's just like, well, I procrastinated, and everyone's like,
well, yeah. The thing, it's like this coping mechanism. The very like there are things though that, like, when there's something I don't want to do, or that I'm overwhelmed by, or I don't think I know how to do it, rather than kind of running at it, I'll sort of set it to the side and kind of focus on what I know how to do, and then so that's part of it. But you run at stuff. Like if there's something you don't know how to do, you don't run away from it.
No, if there's a problem. Now, if it's a problem, I definitely run at it. I'm like, here's a problem, or I can see them coming from a long ways away, and I'm like, we got to fix this, or we have to be prepared for this. Like, I'm totally that person where I don't understand people who run away from problems, because problems are not going to go away. Mm-hmm. They're just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I would like to nail it before it ends up being or contributing serious consequences. So I run at all of those things. That means, though, that my brain never stops working, because I'm not saying your brain stops working. What I mean is like I'm never not thinking of how to fix a problem, because there's problems everywhere you look.
Right. Even what you're describing as a brain stop, like your brain never stops thinking, the common usage or language we use today about things like that is compartmentalization. And so what I can do is very much take something that I don't want to deal with mentally and put it in a drawer and close it, and I know that it's there on some level, but I can put it out of mind.
Yeah.
And so that's, but my understanding, I remember years ago listening to, I was listening to some audiobook. It was like a marriage audiobook thing, trying to help men understand the way women think. And it described the mind of a woman like no, it was like like on your computer with all the windows open.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right, all the windows open, and then pop-up windows that just keep. Oh, me? Oh, all the pop-up windows just keep coming up.
Right.
And
yeah, that's actually how my computer works.
Like my computer, I can keep.
You close windows.
Well, not just that. I have different. I've got one thing at a time.
Yeah, I'm afraid I will forget because my memory isn't always the best. So I leave everything out there. What's so funny?
Well, because you should see her. This is an ongoing thing for years between Riv and the boys, Giovanni and Antonio, is her internet browser.
Okay.
Has, I mean, literally, I bet you 25 to 30 tabs open.
Oh, more than that.
More than that.
Because there's a lot of things I'm working on, and I will forget. I will truly forget. I will forget, and so I leave them open because they are important, and I need to remember to finish them. It's kind of like having a list, like a to-do list.
Sure.
So I leave that open, and because that feeling you have, like I put it over here. I remember it's there, but I put it over there. Wherever it's at, it's never not like I know it's there, and so then I will have anxiety, like I have to take care of this, because what happens if I don't take care of this, which is an issue. I understand that. However, I do feel like I accomplish a whole lot and do, like, when we do it the way I'm like, okay, we need to do it like this, and we need to head this off and everything, I feel like we are successful.
Yeah. So my thing, real quick, I'll answer my question and then you can answer, because my thing with my procrastination is it's this thing that I have now. I'm now 48 years old, and I'm so conditioned. I've conditioned myself. Like, for instance, to do this, that like I remember when I got to college, and thinking, oh man, like, oh, now I'm in college and this is going to be so hard, and I've got to, and so I got the syllabus early on, and I really mapped out how I was gonna do it, and then when I got through that first semester of college, there were some things that I didn't end up doing to the last minute, and I got them done at the last minute, and I succeeded, and I got an A. So the next semester, I wasn't as stressed out because now I at least knew the terrain. I knew what to do, so I thought, oh, I'll be okay. And then with each succeeding semester, I just had more and more confidence that this would all get done, even if it got done at the last second. And then it did. That was the thing. I put it off, and I got it done, and it succeeded.
But was it the best way you could have succeeded? Or was it just, hey, I made it, and I made it well, and I scored a good grade, so that's good enough?
Undoubtedly.
See, I believe in being the best.
Undoubtedly.
I don't like it when it's okay to not be the best, but you have to give your best.
Right. So you're juggling all these things. But yeah, I get it. So that's where I developed, in one sense, I conditioned myself. And then I got to grad school and had that. I remember being overwhelmed,
Yeah, you certainly don't know how to take small bites of a beast. Like if you're like the elephant, you have to taking small bites. You just see the whole thing.
So I got there and I remember I'll never forget reading. It's within the first couple of weeks of school, and I had made one of my new friends who ended up being in my wedding. His name was Ed, and I read. And Ed is a brilliant scholar. Ed is like PhD now at University of Virginia, history professor, and yada yada yada. So I read Ed's paper that he's about to turn in, and I've never written a paper for graduate school, and I read his paper, and it is so dense and wordy, and he's using language I don't use and I don't understand.
It's like trying to read something my dad wrote.
Correct. No offense.
No, it's not offensive. It means they're highly intelligent.
And so I remember, and I turned to someone else to my left. I'm reading this paper, and I turned to the person on my left, and I said, hey, do you have to write like this to get A's in grad school? And he said, no, you don't have to use that kind of language. You just have to write a coherent paper. And so that was relief. So I had so much anxiety, and then when I succeeded, after I got through that first semester and I succeeded, that took the edge off. And once I got in a rhythm of things, then I found myself procrastinating, and I've developed this, and so I just, it's just a bad habit.
Your gifting has created laziness. No, you know what I mean? Like, because I think procrastination is, I'm not trying to say you're lazy, but maybe your gifting has created procrastination.
No,
Because when you don't need to give your best because you're
because your less than best is better
than everybody else. I think
others, not everybody.
But okay, I'm talking general now.
Yeah.
I think that there is it's a kind of laziness where, and I'm not trying to say you're lazy. What I'm just saying is, I think emotionally and what you're putting into it, you're like, well, I don't have to. It's like, to me, my perspective, it's like going into the kitchen and saying, well, since my kitchen is cleaner than everybody else's kitchen, I don't really have to clean it that well. And so to me, that means you're, not you personally, but a person would not wanting to work harder.
Yeah.
When for me, I don't care how everybody else's kitchens look. I know I want my kitchen to look nice and be organized and clean and everything like that, because it is a reflection for me. This is how I think. It is a reflection on me. So whether I'm doing a Passover or I'm, organizing something or whatever, I want it to be the very best because it reflects on me. I don't want to halfway do things because that's also a reflection on me.
Well, and and so that's where, but and so that's where for me, the whole idea of even deadlines are so critical for me. Because like when we, how we'll know, okay, we've set a date, this is going to happen, these people are coming over, we need to have this ready by this date. Like when I built the fireplace thing in the front, we'd been waiting, but it was like, okay, we set a date, it needed to be done before the kids' wedding.
Deadlines.
And so that's where I've like become conditioned to deal on some level
so
with
you do really well with deadlines, and you wait until that deadline is like really approaching. For me, the deadline could be a year away. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, okay, I need to work on this now because I don't know what's going to happen between now and the deadline. And I need to make sure that it gets done.
Right. Yeah.
That's my problem thing, though. Like, I'm anticipating there are going to be things that come up in the future that could prevent me from accomplishing this. So I need to get this done as soon as possible so that if there is a problem, it is not going to affect me getting done what I need to get done.
Right. Okay, what was the back half of that question again? And why don't you... What's keeping you from dropping it?
Well, it works.
Me.
Well, no, but it works for you. Right. You can live that way, and for you don't feel like there's a lot of consequences. People who experience terrible consequences learn from them and they stop doing them for the most part. But if it works for you and you're okay with it, then it doesn't matter if it's a bad habit or not. You're just going to continue doing it.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think that's about everybody.
Yeah.
Not you. No, when I say you, I'm not...
One. You mean one. Yeah, I get it. I get it. So restate the question for Mom, because that was just me answering it about me.
The question... Oh.
It's not a super long question, but...
I know, but...
The question is, what is your worst habit and what is keeping you from dropping it?
Okay, so you.
I have a lot of...
But the worst.
Equally... I don't know that I have a worst habit. I think that there's a lot of equally poor choices on my part. But I would say my worst habit is that I'm terrible, and maybe this is a temperament thing or whatever, but I think I'm really terrible with self-care, and what I mean by that is like exercise. Okay, so I do not care to exercise.
That's not one of the things you run toward.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. It is uncomfortable. It is painful. It's not just painful when you're doing it. It's painful afterwards. And for me, I've never seen like where I run at a problem, I can see the positive results when I've solved that problem. I don't see results in exercise and all that come fast enough for me to feel like I'm accomplishing something. Right. It's the long game, and it's a painful game. So for me, I would say that I should it's important to be healthy. It's important to take care of yourself. It's important to take time for yourself. I think because the way I was raised, the culture, especially, well, I would put this towards whether I grew up in a culture of work, and serve. Self-care also feels selfish to me. Like I'm focusing on me. So if I'm taking a day, I always feel guilty. I always feel bad if I don't eat until everybody else is eating. I don't sleep until I know everybody else is safe in their beds. I'm the last person. I would never, ever, ever put my mask on first. I understand that it's like in an airplane situation. I understand that's the important thing to do. And it's probably absolutely the right thing to do. And I don't think that anybody who does that I would never look at them and be like, I can't believe that they put their mask on first. I think that's the right thing to do. But for me, I don't even think about the fact. I'm not even like, oh, I need to put my mask on first. It doesn't even occur to me to put my mask on. I'm going to be the person dead on the floor. So I'll make sure you go to the doctor. I'll make sure the kids go to the doctor. I'll make sure, I'm always stressing about everybody else. But I might die of pneumonia in the process.
And refuse to go to the doctor.
And absolutely refuse. That's how come when I was sick with pneumonia, when I got better, I said, okay, you can never listen to me again when I'm sick because I could have died. And in that, I remember my mental thinking, I wasn't concerned about that. I just didn't want to have to focus on me at all.
But because you're also... what's the word I'm looking for that matches stubborn? You're also stubborn.
I'm very strong-willed.
That in those moments to get you to do the thing that you need to do, that you know you need to do, that you want to do, but in the moment you don't want to do, is not an easy thing to do.
Say that again.
Like exercising.
Uh-huh.
You want to do it.
Yeah.
And you need to do it.
Yeah.
For your own health, and you're afraid of the long-term consequences of not doing it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But in the moment when I go, okay, well, let's do this, then then it's
really truly boring. That's another. I don't like doing things that are boring. Maybe that's why I like problem solving, because it's interesting to me. It's like a puzzle, but with I'm sorry, I got distracted.
Yeah, we have dogs whimpering.
Well, yeah. But with what were we talking about? My mind just...
Yeah, you're saying you get bored exercising.
Oh, yeah. If it's not something that I find fun, I don't enjoy doing it. My mind will not stay focused on it. My mind has to be challenged. And so I find, I find housework really boring. I feel like it's really repetitive. I keep fixing this. Why do I have to keep doing this over and over and over again? Mm-hmm. And so for me, I get bored of it super quick. Mm-hmm. And I think I get bored of exercise. I could never be in a gym. I find it boring. First of all, I've never been in a gym. I would never take selfies of myself. I would never exercise in front of a mirror. I don't understand how people enjoy that. I know maybe they like to look and see, or maybe it's meant to be
it's for
am
form.
I doing this correctly?
It's for form.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's vanity
involved. But I'm just looking in the mirror oh gosh, that's just who wants to see that,
right?
And I just want to leave.
Well, yeah. Now, most of my life, I hated exercise, right? I mean, I was and I'm not in the moment. I'm not been doing it as much as I need.
You're better at it than I am, though.
But I always hated it. I was like, hey, that thing, no pain, no gain. I would always just say, no pain, no pain.
Right.
That was sort of, but what I found is that when I got past that, first of all, if I didn't overdo it at first, so that the aftermath, the soreness wasn't so painful that it was a deterrent.
Some people like the pain, though.
I don't like the pain.
But there are people that do.
I don't.
It feels like they're accomplishing something.
But when you begin to experience the results, which takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But when you begin to feel the energy that you didn't have, when you feel actual strength in your body that you didn't know you could feel before, like when you see someone walking around that's super muscular, they feel that there's a muscularity that they feel, and
just like when you're not muscular and you're walking around, you can feel.
But you don't know that. I didn't know that.
You didn't know that you could feel your lack of muscularity.
No, I just felt like normal. Like even when I was thin.
Oh, I know. I
was always thin as a kid. Not always, but I was. I had those junior high years where I wasn't. But I was thin, but I wasn't in shape. I would work out. I had spurts of exercise where I would work out for a month or something like that, but never over the course of a year or years. And once I developed a pattern in my life of a half hour a day, at least half hour to an hour of exercise, that it transformed the way I felt, and so then that became itself its own incentive, that feeling. But I had to push through. So it's a different level of procrastination. It's a different level of running from the thing you don't want to do because it's uncomfortable and because. So it's the same kind of thing. And what is it that keeps us from doing it? It's will, isn't it? Like, I don't want to. At the end of the day, it's the reason I don't do the things.
Right, but for me, it's not just exercise. I do this with everything. So there was a small period of time where I was getting my hair done, but for the most part, I've always cut my own hair. I've always dyed my own hair. The boys got me because my muscles are so hard from, stress and carrying stuff like that. The boys get me
got you the massages,
the massage membership or whatever. And I didn't go. Like they would be scheduled and then I would cancel them or have to reschedule them because I just wasn't going. Mm-hmm. Like I just do this across the board.
Right. And I think,
so anyways, I think that it's okay to take care of yourself. It's
Absolutely.
Okay. And maybe there's like a whole deeper psychological issue there. I don't know. But I have found when I recognize, I would say one of my problems is, since I recognize problems with myself, is I should take better care of myself. I don't want to die young. Mm-hmm. And you hit a certain age where you need to. So I guess in the same way, you kind of halfway do the job. Because I've been able to just kind of coast on, well, I'm young, or, well, I'm getting away with this, and this is okay, and everything, until that doesn't work anymore. And I've hit that place in the last several years of, it doesn't work anнимore.
Right, and where it's just going to get, and it's kind of like, we were talking about this the other day with pest control. I had stopped our pest control.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's ants and this kind of
crickets
thing. And Riv says to me, hey, if we don't get ahead of that,
we are going to have an infestation.
So if it's something we put off, then we have an infestation, and the cleaning out of it becomes a much, much bigger deal. Right? What's the old phrase?
If you're either going to pay now or you're going to pay later.
Right. There was a phrase I heard, I remember I learned in Napa. This is the first time I ever heard it, but apparently it's an old phrase that says, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Like, if you do something in advance, you only have to do an ounce, and it's worth a pound of what it would take to do the aftermath. And so it's like if you stay in front of it, but part of the problem becomes we condition ourselves with what we can, just feeling like, I don't know, it's this. It just, you have this feeling like you're juggling so many things and you're having to make choices and...
Right, and so the one thing for me that I don't choose is me, because I find everybody else, and I do believe this, is more important. I'm not saying I'm not important, but I, in my list of priorities, you, the kids, the ministry, other people have a higher importance.
Right.
So, yeah.
But the reality is, though, that if you, I mean, in principle, and you understand it in principle, that when you're your best version of you, that the benefit to your family and your children in that regard is also, they experience the overflow of that. So, for instance, when I got healthy, it affected, there's an overflow impact of that on my family. And but it can feel that way. It's, sort of love your neighbor as yourself, which the idea is you do love yourself.
Yeah.
And the way that you love yourself will also it can affect the way that you look at others too.
Yeah, but I think if everybody put everybody else first, they'd also be first, because somebody would be putting them first.
Agreed.
So what happens is that you have, whether it's a mom or women and men, I guess, but in my experience, I experienced this with women, where we're constantly putting others first, and then it's not reciprocated, and so then you end up poorly.
Yeah.
And so I guess then you have to.
Yeah, you end up drained, and potentially one day you wake up and go, wait a second, and it's and there can be resentment that's there. It's about doing the things that we're supposed to do in balance. It's funny this year. So when I was in it's a good thing. I remember when Rivka and I were first married, her dad was my professor. And he was my favorite professor when I was in grad school, but he was also, his workload was one of the more rigorous workloads. And so you never took, like for me, I remember one time having a friend who took 3 Gannon classes and thinking, are you out of your mind? Because of the amount of reading he required and the amount of writing that you were going to have to do. It was a lot of work. Now, you were going to get an amazing education out of it.
And that was his goal.
And
he always said they're paying for an education. They need to get a good education.
Correct. And I remember being in other classes, going in with great expectations and being so disappointed. And those classes were often easy, but I didn't get much out of them. Anyway, that's a roundabout way. So we're married now, and so I'm talking to him at the end of one semester, and different students have asked for extensions on their papers. Now, I'm definitely in my second year, going in my third year of graduate school. So I've done college, and now I'm in my graduate work. I've never had a moment's thought that you could ask for an extension on a paper. So I had these hard deadlines, and that deadline drove me. But then when I found I was like, thank God I didn't know about extensions.
Right.
Because then your dad taught me about filing tax extension. I didn't know that existed either. So I thought April 15th was your drop dead day for your taxes. Then I learned back in those days it was August 15th and then October 15th. And wouldn't you know,
you took both extensions.
I could count on, I probably over the course of 25 years have done the taxes by April 15th. Maybe 3 or 4 times. October 15th was typically my final date. And I thought, I have the whole summer to do it. I've got, I just delay it and I'll get it done.
But you don't know
and I got the whole
what's
summer.
coming up
and then
summer.
And then I get it done on October 15th, because October 15th was the date. Now, wouldn't you know, this year, I did it on time.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
But anyway, it's what we condition ourselves to do, and sometimes we have to make some choices. We have to set our will to break those patterns. But the
question, so anyways, so that answers those questions. And I think I've got lots of terrible habits. That was just one of them.
Yeah. But that's kind of a spider webbing habit. And I think about, it's interesting, our backgrounds are such that our parents functioned in very different ways. So your parents were like workaholics, and
both my parents, absolutely. Which I don't think is a terrible thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
And my dad and my dad worked hard. My dad also, he went to Yale and he worked very diligently. But my dad would go, son, why worry about it? Wait, one thing at a time.
Yeah, we come from very different,
one thing at a time.
Very different
Because I'd start to stress out. He'd want to relax me. He'd say, what? He'd put his fingers together. Why you worry about it? And so that's the voice in my head.
That's fun.
And the voice in your head
like,
is
it's
never enough?
Well, no, it's not that it's never enough. No, it's not that it's never enough. I feel like that my parents were really hard workers. My mom, you could not find dust in the house. Like, she was a really, really hard worker. I remember friends coming over. I didn't know because it was our norm. I remember, though, kids walking around and checking, and one of the kids said to me, do you realize, like, there is no dust anywhere in your home? And I was like, oh, really? Wow. Because my mom was like, made sure that everything was perfectly done. And my dad, and they're very successful, my parents.
Sure.
They've accomplished a great deal. But when we have vacationed, we vacationed.
Sure.
And we traveled and we saw the world. And, so I felt like if you want to accomplish things, then it doesn't matter if it's your house, it doesn't matter what it is. Now, have I succeeded? Oh, absolutely not. There's so much more disciplined than I will ever be. I think my mom's biggest frustration with me when I was younger was how slow I was. She would just always be like, oh my gosh, over here, so slow, She'd move in ahead of me like, okay, let me just do it, kind of a thing. But but I don't think it's about never enough. I think it's about giving your best. And there's very little time to accomplish what you're needing to accomplish in the time that we're here. Yeah. And I think it's very easy when you have the mindset of, look, it'll happen or whatever.
And
that mindset gives me anxiety.
Sure.
I feel much more comfortable knowing, like, my dad, my brothers, and I will joke about how my dad will go, 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 because that's what I hear in my head. But it's not a mean go. It's a, let's go. We're going to do this. That's how, so when we first got married, we would go on vacation. And I'd be like, okay, let's plan out the vacation. Let's have an itinerary of where we're going to go and what we're going to do. And you were like, why? That's not
Let's
fun.
decide each day.
Let's just take each day or whatever. And what happened was, the first time we went on vacation, that happened. Everybody else made plans for us. We were on everybody else's terms. We were meeting people that we didn't want to meet, but your parents wanted us to meet, because we didn't have any plans. So we didn't ever do what we wanted to do. We were doing what everybody else wanted us to do. Right. And so after that, forevermore, you're like, yeah, let's make an itinerary so that we actually can do and accomplish what we want to. And so I think of life in those terms. Yeah. You don't, so there's that ongoing battle.
That's why God gave me you.
Right. If you agree to do what I say, most of the time you're like, look, it's fine, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, everything's falling apart. So
yeah, it's funny. Like I've told that story before, but when I was in high school, and I came home and I was in this dual enrollment college biology class, and I'd gotten a 98 on a test. I got a 98 on a biology test, and no, I'm sorry. I didn't get a 98 on a biology test. It was a 98 on a different kind of test. And so then, these are two different stories I was blurring together. There was one where I had a 98 on a test, and my dad says to me, why didn't you get 100? And I was like, because I missed one, Dad. I missed one. He always wanted me to be my best, particularly academically. Academically was sort of like if you talked to my father, he'd ask you about school. It was always about school. And then one time in my college biology class, I got a B. That's what happened. I got a B in that class.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And my dad says, and because biology,
my parents would have thrown a party if I had gotten a B.
I did not like biology. And so my dad said, the amount of time I had to study to do well in biology was, I didn't think, worth it. So I got a B, and he said, why'd you get a B? And I was like, because, Dad, I'm trying to I play baseball, and I want to have a social life, and I want to do this and that. And I was like, I want to have balance in my life. And that was sort of what I was after. And so I had him on that one side, on one level saying, why worry about it? But then always challenging me.
I think the Lord wants us to be our best. I don't think that us not being our best makes us less
And then I had my mom's voice going, you're so smart.
Yeah. Anything you did was it wasn't even just fine with your mom. Anything that you did was the best. You are the best. Even if you strike out every single time in your Little League game, your mom's like, I still think you were the best out there.
Yeah, so together. Anyway.
Yeah, we didn't get that from our parents, my brothers and I. We didn't get you're the best. Well, they were proud of us, but in Greek culture, you don't, and in Italian culture as well, you didn't get compliments from your dad.
Not from my father.
No.
He would talk to other people about me.
Yeah.
But he would never talk to me about me.
Right.
They would always tell me.
There's this fear of blowing your head up.
He didn't want me to get the big head.
A big head, right. Yeah. So our cultures in that regard didn't do that.
Yeah. I think we're at 40 minutes.
Yeah, 40 minutes on that topic.
All right. Well, I think that's it. Happy Father's Day, everybody.
Yep.
Take a break today. Relax. And even if it's after Father's Day, find some time.
Do the best you can for Father's Day.
And every day while you have it. All right.
Yep.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, shalom. Have a beautiful day.